What's up, guys? I'm just gonna try something new here. I'm really into the NBA, so I thought I would just, start doing some NBA shit here on the channel. So, the first thing that I wanted to do was really, well, no, I wouldn't say really early, but pretty early predictions for the 2020-2021 uh, awards at the end of the year. And now I say not too early, but early because, the 2019-2020 season just ended, and the 2020-2021 season is already right around the corner. It starts barely more than a month from now on December 22nd. So that's kind of what inspired me to make this video. So obviously, we haven't had a real off season yet for 2020. No trades have been made yet. The draft hasn't happened. So this stuff is a lot of it is going to be wrong. This might have to be like a part one, pre off season sort of deal. So I'm going to start with East seedings. So in first I have the Brooklyn Nets because KD is going to be back and healthy, and so is Kyrie. And they're going to have Karis LeVert as that third scoring option. And obviously, they're going to have a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie. And they're probably, like they said they've been planning to, they probably plan on trading for a third guy. So this is assuming they trade for that guy. They could be at the top, and they have a crazy coaching staff. I mean, they have Steve Nash as their head coach and Mike D'Antoni as an assistant, with Amari Stoudemire. So we'll see how that pans out. At the second seed, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is, obviously Giannis is dominant. He's really great in the regular season, but you never know how their offseason is going to go. There's reports saying that they have not made any ground trying to trade for that second star. So who knows how this season is going to go for the Bucks? Obviously Giannis is going to improve like he does every year, but he can't be the only guy. He's got to have that second dude. So this could be a second seed thing. It can be anywhere because the top of the East is pretty close. The top 4 or 5 spots are give or take. They'll be within a few games of each other. So we'll see with that one. At third, I have the Boston Celtics. That's pretty obvious. I think they were a third seed also this year, and they said they want to try trading for a big man. Who knows how that's going to go? They said they're also going to try trading up in the draft to get a big man, probably someone like Onyeka Okongwu. But who knows with them? So there's a lot of like a who knows sort of thing. But I see Boston finishing at third. All those guys like Jason Tatum, uh, Jaylen Brown, those guys are going to improve. And then at fourth, I have the Toronto Raptors. I know fourth sounds kind of low for them as they've finished as the second seed and first seed the last couple of years, but again, these other teams, they're just getting better, so they're going to be falling more towards the middle. And then at five, this might surprise some of you, but I have the Miami Heat. Just like this year, they were just in the middle of the regular season. They weren't too crazy, and then they popped off in the playoffs. So I think that's just how they roll. They're a surprising team. So I see them coming in at fifth. And then at sixth, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. They had a lot of problems this year with their cluttered space, though not a lot of floor spacing, and I see them having similar problems if they don't get rid of like Al Horford or Tobias Harris, or at least like improve them somehow, because they kind of did terrible in the playoffs. If they do improve, then who knows? They could be going up to even fourth seed. Who knows? But and also there's a chance that Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons gets traded, so their situation's kind of up in the air right now as well. Then at seventh seed, this is kind of surprising. I have the Washington Wizards. They finished at the ninth seed this year, and they could have done better. Like that was all pretty much Bradley Beal doing that. And they're going to have John Wall back next year. Who knows how healthy he's going to be after coming back from the Achilles. Was it Achilles or ACL? One of the two. Who knows how he's going to be off of that. But I think he'll make a big enough difference for them to at least make the playoffs. I don't know. Seventh seed might be a little too hopeful. They could be eighth seed. But I think they're going to make the playoffs. And then at eighth seed, I have the Indiana Pacers. I don't see them finishing as high this year. And there's also the chance Victor Oladipo leaves the Pacers. So their situation is a little iffy too. And then in the West, at first I have the Los Angeles Lakers. I think they're still going to have that momentum. They just won a championship, like just a couple weeks ago. In barely over a month, they're going to be starting the next season. So they're going to be carrying that momentum into the next season, and it's going to be crazy. I think they're still going to finish with the first seed. Anthony Davis is going to get better. LeBron is going to keep doing his thing, and they're going to finish strong. And then at second, I have the Golden State Warriors. I don't think their whole dynasty is over. I mean, they have Steph and Clay coming back from their injuries, and they have Andrew Wiggins now. I know Andrew Wiggins isn't like the craziest thing, but I mean, he's a pretty decent scorer, and he could be a trade piece for them this offseason. So they have that. Draymond's going to be there, and they have the second overall pick. So that could mean they either add a real big man like James Wiseman at second, or they trade that to get another guy. I don't know who they would want to get because they're kind of loaded at the guard spot, and Clay and Andrew Wiggins can kind of go back and forth with shooting guard and small forward. So, and Draymond, they can't have him playing center with someone like Anthony Davis out in the West. He's just gonna eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they need like a real big man. They'd probably have Draymond at power forward, and then if they do end up drafting at second, then James Wiseman at center. I don't see why they wouldn't take him. It's kind of what they need. And then at third, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. I think they'll kind of figure their shit out for the regular season. I remember seeing something how they had a historic amount of different lineups this season, like so many different lineups for each game, for who was starting and who was where, blah blah blah. But I think they're gonna sort of iron that out this year. Then they've had some coaching, front office changes. And I think Kawhi and Paul George, the whole chemistry, I think they all realized afterward, like, all right, that was kind of shit. We got to figure our shit out. And I think they're going to do that. And I think this year they will make the Western Conference Finals. I don't know. I want to say they will, but who knows? The West is stacked. It's going to be crazy this year. Then at fourth, I have the Denver Nuggets. Now, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray are even closer to being on the same level. Jamal Murray he was a god in the playoffs this last year. So I think he's going to keep that going. He's just going to get better in this short off season, and they're going to keep going. They might even seed higher than the Clippers, honestly. And then at fifth, I have the Houston Rockets. They, who knows with them? They could be anywhere from fifth to like seventh. Well, honestly, like James Harden, he's a good regular season player, and him and Russell Westbrook, they knew what to do in the regular season. If James Harden was putting up a scoring performance, Russell Westbrook's like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing on the side. I'm gonna let him be the guy this game, and I'll do my thing. And if James Harden, he's not making his shots, Russell Westbrook is like, all right, now I'll do my thing, I'll do the scoring, and it seemed to work pretty well. So I imagine they'll keep that going, unless, James Harden or Russell Westbrook is traded, like the rumors state. And then at sixth, I have the Dallas Mavericks. I think this year, Luka, he's just getting better and better, like astronomically, and he's got someone like Kristaps to help him out. So, I don't think he's going to get better enough for them to seed high up in the West because those teams are really good. But he'll definitely finish higher than the 7th seed that they were last year. And then speaking of 7th seed, I have the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, just 2 years ago in the 2018-19 season, they were the 2nd seed in the West. And, everyone's like, oh, they finished their 8th seed. They had a lot of injuries this year. Damian Lillard was injured for like a good while around the All-Star break, and Yusuf Nurkic was injured the whole year until the bubble. And Rodney Hood tore his ACL. He was a really good shooter. And if they keep Carmelo Anthony around, the Carmelo and Rodney Hood are really good wing shooters and stuff. So they're really good pieces, and hopefully, they'll make another playoff run. But who knows? The West, even just outside of the playoffs, let me do the 8th seed. The 8th seed, I have the Utah Jazz. They finished at 6th seed, I think, this year, 5th or 6th. And I think they're gonna keep going. But again, like even the 8th seed is crazy good for what we're gonna see from these other Western teams this year. So you got the Memphis Grizzlies. They were an 8th seed most of the year. You have the Phoenix Suns, who went on a tear in the bubble. They're going to keep that energy going. And you got the New Orleans Pelicans, and Zion's getting better, and they're building a young team. Brandon Ingram's there. I just had the thing pulled up. Spurs, they probably won't do anything crazy, especially if DeMar is out of there. Kings, probably not. Timberwolves, see, they're another one. They're another one that might just pop off because now they have Cat, D'Lo. They have that first overall pick. They could maybe finish closer to the playoffs at least because they did finish second to last in the West this year. And who knows if Malik Beasley's going to come back, because he got arrested and shit. But he was another really good piece. And the Thunder, I think this is going to be a really good rebuilding year for the Thunder, but they're going to be they're not going to miss the playoffs by too much. I don't think they've got a really good team. Okay, so that concludes the seedings. Well, this video is already pretty long. So now we'll get into the awards. So for MVP, this is a real toss-up here. This could go back and forth. But in my honest opinion, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to win MVP. I think he's going to really improve this year. And again, like the playoffs, they sort of taint an MVP, unfortunately. So this year, I think he really deserved the regular season MVP. But they don't announce it until after the playoffs. So everyone's like, oh, he didn't do good in the playoffs. He doesn't deserve MVP. Well, it doesn't have any bearing. But I think he's going to really prove some people wrong this year and win the MVP. If it's not him, then I really think it's definitely going to be Luka Doncic. He finished 4th, I think, in MVP voting this year. Yeah, it was Giannis, LeBron, and James Harden were top 3. So next up had to have been Luka Doncic. He was on a tear, and he's super young for this talent that he has, and he's just going to get much better next year. So then Defensive Player of the Year, I have Anthony Davis. I think, I mean, Giannis, he got it. You can't just look at the stats, like the blocks and the steals. There's a lot of advanced stats that you need to look at for Defensive Player of the Year. But I think, in the words of MJ, Anthony Davis might be taking this one personally. So he's going to get out there and really prove that he's a really good defender. And the next person up, if it's not Anthony Davis, then it's going to be Giannis again, because he is also just an insane defender. So then for Rookie of the Year, my pick is going to be James Wiseman. I think James Wiseman's going to go into the NBA with the mentality that he has something to prove, because he only got to play a couple of games for Memphis before he was ruled ineligible to play. So I imagine he's thinking a lot of people aren't really sure about him, so he's going to go out there and put on a tear. And if it's not going to be him, the top of this draft is really stacked. not stacked, I want to say, but the top, it's top heavy. The better players are definitely in the top, but they're not like, it's not like Zion at the top. So it's really hard to say with these other players because sometimes it depends on the team they're on. Like if LaMelo's drafted by the Warriors for whatever reason, he's probably not going to shine as much because he's going to be playing behind Steph, Clay, and Wiggins and stuff. So he's not going to shine as much. But then again, if he's on a team like the Hornets, or if he falls even to like the Bulls, then he'll shine. He'll look really good. So, but I think if it's not James Wiseman, then it's going to be Anthony Edwards. He has a really good play style, and if he ends up on the Timberwolves, he could look really good there. And then for Sixth Man of the Year, this one's really hard to predict because the trades haven't been made yet, so the rotations are for every team are going to change, really. So I think the safe bet to go with Sixth Man of the Year, it's either going to be Lou Williams or Montrez. That's who it's been the last few years. I want it to be someone different. I thought it should have been Dennis Schroeder this year. He was really good. But I think that's the safe pick for now. And then on to most improved. I think it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm surprised he wasn't nominated for it this year because, he went from kind of like oh yeah, he's a pretty good young player on the Clippers, and then on the Thunder he was like, okay, he's the second best player on the team behind Chris Paul. And now that Chris Paul is probably most definitely on his way out, Shai is going to be the guy on the team. So it'll be really interesting to see that, and I think he's really going to step it up because Chris Paul's a great mentor, so he probably passed on a lot of good leadership qualities to Shai. And then runner-up, I have Lonzo Ball. Lonzo, he's been dealing with the haters a lot for most of his career, and he really improved his three-point percentage this year. So I think he's going to get even better next year. So then, obviously the most important thing to talk about is the championship at the end of the year. So I have a couple scenarios. In the first scenario, if the Bucks end up trading for a second star, say it's Chris Paul, I think they win the championship. Might be a hot take. There's a lot of other variables that go into this, but I think they really do have the potential to win the championship if they do get a second star, because Giannis will have a lot more freedom to do what he wants to do, and someone else, Chris Middleton, and someone else can take that last shot of the game. And then in my second scenario, if they don't trade for that second star, then I think the Lakers are going to repeat champions, because I don't see why they can't. They're going to have this momentum keep going, and LeBron and Anthony Davis are just an insane duo. But then again, who knows? They have so many players that are going to be free agents this year. So who knows who they bring back and who they get. In the finals, though, for either of those teams to play, I think either the Warriors or the Nets could make the finals, because they both have the pieces to do it, and who knows, they could win it too. So it's really hard to say. There's definitely a lot of what ifs right now. Again, these are just way too early predictions. If the Bucks win, Finals MVP is going to be Giannis, of course. If the Lakers win, I think the Finals MVP this time will go to Anthony Davis. It almost was this year. After the first two games in the Finals, it was like, oh my god, what can LeBron do at this point to get Finals MVP? And, then Anthony Davis kind of slowed down and LeBron picked it up. So then he ended up winning it. But I think Anthony Davis is definitely going to be the better player this time around, and he's going to get the Finals MVP. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching and listening to my predictions. It's probably a lot of bullshit, but whatever. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.